Okay, we're continuing Masech Chagiga. We're on Daf Yud Gimel Amud Bet, 13b2 in the article English edition. Omar Rava. We've been having a discussion about the Maaseh Merkava, about the chariot of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, the Kisei HaKavod, about the angels that are there, the Chayot, Ofanim, and we saw that the first parak, which is 20-something psukim in Yecheskel, talks about this phenomenon of what he saw in Shemaim. Now, the truth is, we already had 200 years before Yecheskel another Navi, the Navi known as Yeshaya, and Yeshaya also saw the Maaseh Merkava, and he describes it, but Yeshaya uses a lot less psukim, a lot less verses in Nach. So Omer Rava, Kol Shera'a Yecheskel, everything that Yecheskel saw, Ra'a Yeshaya. Yeshaya Navi also saw. So why is Yecheskel writing so much more in Yeshaya just a few psukim? So Lama Yecheskel Domeh, what is Yecheskel compared to? Leven Kefa Shera'a Et HaMelech. Ulma Yeshaya Domeh. And what is Yeshaya compared to? Leven Kirach Shera'a Et HaMelech. Who did see the king, the city boy who did see the king. So let's understand it with a few explanations. The Maharsha wants to understand this, that since Yeshaya had a nevuah, and Yeshaya grew up within the Jewish palace, within David HaMelech's palace, but a little bit later than David HaMelech. He had an uncle who was king. Amaziah was one of the kings of Yehuda. And since Yeshaya was familiar with royalty, and royalty down here somewhat corresponds to royalty up there, so therefore when he saw what was going on in Shemaim, a lot of it was familiar to him because he was already knowing royal procedures. Whereas Yechazkel, who is the Nevuah 200 years later, after the destruction of the Mikdash, and he is now giving the Nevuah, so for him it's a lot more of a shock, and he's unfamiliar with this, so he gives it in a lot greater detail. And that's what it means. A villager who saw the king, he saw it for the first time, and he's more into explaining that. Others explain that it has to do with the audience. The Tosafot and En Yaakov explains that Yeshaya's audience are Jews living during the Beit HaMikdash times. They see all the miracles, they see everything, so they don't need so much information. Whereas the people that Yecheskel is prophesying, he's prophesying to those in exile, those in Bavel. In fact, the fact that Yecheskel has Nevuah in its first place is a big chidush, because usually Nevuah is in Eretz Yisrael. As some say, he started in Eretz Yisrael and then he continued there in Bavel, and therefore needed more. The Zohar, using the same idea, the Zohar also explains that Dafka Hashem gave Yecheskel the Maaseh Merkava Nevuah to relate to the Jews in Bavel, is because they thought that perhaps after the destruction of the Mikdash, Hashem wants nothing to do with us, Chas v'Shalom. So therefore, Hashem revealed this great and glorious Maaseh Merkava in detail to Yecheskel, this way to sort of give them hizuk to be able to believe that Hashem is still watching them. Interestingly, the Rambam in the Moreh Nevuchim, the Rambam explains that perhaps since Yeshaya, the Midrash calls Yeshayahu the greatest prophet after Moshe Rabbeinu. So it's Moshe, and then comes Yeshaya. And since Yeshaya was such a great prophet, he wasn't as startled by what he saw as the way Yecheskel, who's not that high up, and now he was zochet to see something that usually it requires a lot more work to see. That's from the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim. Okay, so that's a couple of ideas to understand why Yecheskel's description of Maaseh Merkava is lengthy, whereas Yeshaya's description of Maaseh Merkava is shorter. Amar Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish now, he wants to look. My dichtiv. Takes a look at the psukim. He says, look, we say every day in the morning, Ashir Allah Hashem, ki gaoga. Praise Hashem, because he is exalted above the exalted. What does this mean? Hashem is above. He's the highest of the highest. What does that mean? So, Shira lemi shemitge'al ge'im. It's a shira for Hashem who's upon the exalted ones. Zamarman. Melech shebechayot ari. The king of the beasts is the lion. Melech shebehemot short. The king of the livestock, which is wealth, is a ox. Melech sheb'afot nesher. The king of the skies, right, the birds, is the eagle. Va'adam mitge'alahin. And man is the king above all of them. Va'kadosh baruch hu mitge'al kulan va'kol olam kulo. And Hashem is above the man and above all the animals and everything else. And Hashem is the king of kings. Melech Machei HaMelachim. Okay. Now that we know that there are these four, now these four are the faces that are on the Kisei HaKavod, they're on the Merkava, they're on the Hayot, right? The faces on the Hayot. So now, the Gemara is going to say as follows. Listen. Maaseh Merkava is actually described by Yecheskel twice in the Navi. Once in the first Perek and once in the 10th Perek. But there is a slight change in the faces that are mentioned. Katuv Echad Omer. In the first Perek, it says, Udmut Pnei Pnei Adam. And their face was the face of a human. Upnei Aryeh. And then there was the face of a lion. El Pnei Shor. I can read all the words. Upnei Aryeh al Yamin Larbatan. Upnei Shor Mahasimol Larbatan. And there was an ox on the face on the left. And then it says in an eagle's face for the four of them. So you had in your high school Perek Aleph, you have the faces being man, lion, ox, and eagle. That's the four. Now you go to the 10th Perek. What do you have in the 10th Perek? Pnei ha'echad, pnei ha'kiruv. You have a face of a kiruv. You know, like the kiruvim? He had a face of a kiruv. Upnei ha'sheni, pnei adam. And then you have the face of a man. V'hashlishi, pnei aryeh. And then you have the face of a lion. V'harivi'i, pnei nesher. And then you have the face of an eagle. V'ilu shor lo kahashiv. What happened to the ox's face? What happened to the ox's face? Where'd he go? That's the question of the Gemara. That's the question of the Gemara. What happened to the ox's face? Sa'amar Reish Lakish Yecheskel bikesh alav rachamim. Yecheskel asked for mercy. V'hafecho lichruv. And he switched the ox to the kiruv. Amar lefanav. Said to Hashem, Rosh Olam, Kategor Yaseh Sanegor. Will the prosecutor, can the prosecutor act as a defender? Okay, so what is going on over here? Because I'm already lost. What's happening? You had on the faces an ox, and then the ox wasn't there, and the kiruv was instead, and there's a lion, an eagle, and a man's face, and then he asked to switch from the ox to the kiruv. What's happening? Okay, so the way the Mefarshim explained this is that the golden calf, right, the egel, is related to the shore. And that Yeheskel said, we need the Maaseh Merkava for a skula to help us out, things work right. But if it's going to have the picture of the shore, it's going to be used against us because the shore is related to the egel. The egel is out. And because you know what? Put something else instead. Put a kiruv instead. Why a kiruv? The kiruv is going to be, we're going to see, as the Gemara says next, my kiruv, what's a kiruv? I'm going to be about kiravya. It's like a child. She came from Bavel, korin linuka ravya. A child's face is a kiruv. Why you want a child's face? We know that a person who does teshuvah is kikatan shenolam. He's like a new baby that was just born. As such, you want the face of the kiruv there, because the Jews making teshuvah, We don't want to be any more punished for the Egel Azab. In fact, Yecheskel is saying this after the destruction of the first temple. He said, we already paid the price for Egel Azab. The temple is destroyed. So now we're doing tshuva. Now you're showing me this to give them chizuk, like the Zohar says. We're doing tshuva. So give us something that shows us not the Egel Hazab, and comes the Kiruv instead. And the question that some Mifashim ask is, did he just change the face, or did he change the whole tzura, the whole thing, face, body, feet of the hayot from the face of a shor to the face of Kiruv? And they want to bring from different stories and different mises that perhaps yes, perhaps no. But they do say that once the second Beit Midrash was destroyed, that perhaps the face switched back to the shore and no longer the Kiruv. Anyway, that's just some information regarding the Masim al the chariots, the Hayot, the faces that are on them, and the like. Okay. Omer popular abaya. Elamaato dichtim pnei echa pnei kruv pnei echa sheni pnei adam. Vashish pnei arya pnei nesher hani pnei kruv hani pnei adam. There are two of the same. The man and the kruv are the same. Ana says Gemara. Ape rabreve v'ape zutre. You have the face of an adult, and you have the face of a child. You have both. Interestingly, in the pasuk in the 10th paragraph that says kiruv, it brings kiruv first. Why? So someone explained kiruv. We said about kishikatan shnulad. It's like a made tshuva. He's like a young boy, and we know that what b'malkom shabali tshuva oimdim, in a place where bali tshuva stands, people do tshuva. Ein tzadikim yachol amod. The tzadikim cannot stand there, right? So who comes first? The bali tshuva, the kiruv, comes first before the adam. Perhaps that is the reason why the pasuk says it in that way. Okay. Now that we're looking into this, we're noticing that in Yeshaya, Katuv Echad Omer, Shesh Kenafayim Le'echad. Each one of these angels, this Hayot, they had 6 wings. V'Katuv Echad Omer, V'arba Panim Le'echad, V'arba Kenafayim Le'echad Lehem. They had 4 wings. So do the angels have 6 wings or 4 wings? Interestingly enough, says the Tosefot, Katuv Echad Omer, Shesh Kenafayim, Katuv Echad Omer, Arba Kenafayim. V'af Hagav, Shezeh B'Hayot. This one that says 6 is by Hayot. V'zeh B'Srafim. And this one that says it's 4 is by a different group of angels known as Srafim. Maybe that's why one has 6, one has 4. It says no, Mikomakom, Mistaber, makes sense. Shagama Hayot, Beshesh Kenafayim. Even though the Srafim has 6, and Hayot have 4, no, it's simple to say the Hayot also have 6. Kemo Srafim, like the Srafim. Okay, so it says the Tosafot, it makes sense that all the angels are 6 wings. So if that's true, so why when Yeshaya only have 6 wings? And why, when Yecheskel is seeing them, he says they have only 4 wings? When explaining where the wings were, it's explained that they had 2 wings that cover their face, 2 wings that cover their legs, their feet, and 2 wings that they flew with. Okay, so now the question is, which ones? Number one, why the reduction? Like kasha. This is where they had a Beit Midrash. There was another Beit Midrash. The Hayot were reduced, as it were. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he reduces himself, and he reduces his Hayot and all his heavenly entourage because of the reduction of the Jewish people. Beit Midrash is no longer, Jewish people no longer, the Leviim are not there, this is not there. So Hashem cut down the angels, so to speak, as well, going from 6 to 4. Lamar say now, which wings was it? Okay. I mean, how imaut? Which of the wings were reduced? Amarav Hananel, Amarav Otan, Shomrot Shira Bahen. It's the one that they said Shira with. Which wings did they say Shira with? Ketib Hacha. Ushtaim Yofef V'Kara Ze'azeh V'Yamar. Right, as it says, with 2, they flew, the middle ones, and with those 2, the right. Take a look at the whole pasuk. Here's a pasuk. Yisrafim omdim im alo shishkanafim lecha b'shtayim yechasef panav u'sham yechasef raglav b'shtayim yeofef v'kara zel zeh v'yamar kadosh 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 l'nayt tzov nochlatz kevado. This is where we get it in the kedusha. That's why in Nagdishach, what do we do when we say kadosh kadosh kadosh? We lift ourselves up a little bit. Why? Because that's how they said it. They said it with their wings. They flew up a little bit every time they said kadosh kadosh kadosh. Yeofef, they were flying. That's why we get up from our heels when we say kadosh, kadosh, kadosh. And then it says, "Uchtiv heta'if einecha bo ve'enenu." You cast your eyes upon it, and it's gone. The hita'if yofef. So those wings that you flew with, they are no longer there. They got cut off. They bring from the Tikkunei Zohar that the Tikkunei Zohar says that the six wings that the angels had words on them. And it had the words Baruch Shem Kivod Machutot Le'olam Va'ed. What we say after the Shema. And each one had one. So the first two, the ones for the head, had Baruch Shem. The second two, Kivod Machutot. And the last one, Le'olam Va'ed. So which ones got cut out? The middle ones, Kivod Machutot. Kivod Machutot means the honor of his kingship, right? And when the Beit Mikdash was destroyed, so to speak, the honor was a little bit removed. And therefore, the honor of Hashem has been removed. No Mikdash. So therefore, he cut out those that correspond to Kavod Malchuto. In fact, it's brought down. That's why we say on the Shalosh Regalim Musaf, we say Gale Kavod Malchutecha Aleinu Mehera. Reveal the Kavod Malchutecha. Bring back the wings, not just bring back the temple, but bring back the wings of the Hayot and the Seraphim that correspond to Kavod Malchuto. Okay. Now that's Rabbi Hanana Amarav, but Rabbanan Amre, the Rabbanan say, no, that's not with the angels. That's not the wings that were missing from the angels. Rather, it was those that they closed their feet with. Shneimar, it says, "V'raglehem regel yeshara," and Yecheskel saw their leg was a straight leg. And if it wasn't, if the leg wings weren't missing, how would he know? Because they're covering his legs, the angel's legs. So if he sees their legs, it must be that they are missing the leg wings. Maybe he just saw it for a second. If you didn't say that, it says how does he see them that they have faces? They also have wings across their face, so he shouldn't have seen their face. So how do you see their face? So they must have moved their wings for a second. He saw their face, so he's able to describe it. So too, they must have moved their wings to their legs, and then he was able to describe it. Says, it makes sense to say they uncovered their face for a second. They're cheretz to show something on your face. But to show something on your legs, that's never their cheretz. So that couldn't be that he saw them because they revealed it. It must be he saw them because it wasn't there. Okay. Now, there's one pasuk in Daniel. Okay, the last name for Daniel is written in Aramaic. Elef alafin yeshamu sheneh v'ribo revavan kadamohi yikomun. 1,000 and thousands were serving Hashem, or 1,000 servers were serving him, and myriads were standing before him. A lot. But he gives a number. And there is a pasuk in Eov that says, Hayesh mispar dudav. Is there a number for the legions, for the troops of Hashem? Meaning there is no way to count it. So which one is it? Can you count it? You can't count it. The Gemara says, Loikashia is not a question. Kam is Kam is when the Mikdash was there. And Hashem was there with all his glory. They was unable to count them. Now the Mikdash is not anymore, right? So Hashem kaviyachol shnimata pamalya shilmala. It's as if Hashem reduced the heavenly entourage, and therefore now they may be able to be given a number. Interestingly, the Rav Steinzelt says the word pamalya, the shayrish of the word pamalya shemala, pamalia, he says, is actually a Latin word. And it's pamalia, if you switch the pay to fe, comes to familia, which is pretty much familia. And familia means family or a group belonging to the same household. Pamalia Shemala means the heavenly family, the heavenly angels that are all there. So it's interesting to when you say it like we say in Hatan Indarim, Pamalia Shemala, we say in places. Now you know what we mean. Pamalia means the familia of heaven, heavenly family. Okay, Tanya. It was taught in a right. Rabbi Yomer Mishum Abu Yosi ben Dosai. Elef Alofen Yeshamu Shena Misper Gedud Echad. When it gives you the number, it's giving the number of one legion. And when there's no count, that's the amount of legions. That's the amount of troops. So you have the group. I can tell you how much is in a group. But how many groups are there? That's no number. That's how to explain the two Pesukim. But no, that's talking about the thousands were serving him. That's talking about the Nahar Dinur, the stream of fire. There are thousands and thousands over there. Shnemar Nahar De Nur, Naged v'nafek min kadmuhi, el balafim yisham shena. But he won't mean kadmuki kumun. So over there was a number by the fiery stream known as Nahar Dinur. Mehechanafik. From where does this fiery stream come from? Listen, Rabotai, Mizayatan Shel Hayot. From the sweat of the angels known as Hayot. Why would the angels be sweating? Why would the angels be sweating? So there were a couple of understandings over here. Number one is because they're Hayot, they want to make sure that they are doing the mitzvah correctly. Everything Hashem commands them. And so they're always very nervous. And they have a pacha that they might get it wrong. And therefore, they are sweating. They are sweating because of that. That's one answer. The sweat from the pahad that they're having. Just here I'm finding it. Okay, another answer he brings. When a person does a mitzvah b'shlema, a complete mitzvah, only angels can do something complete. That's called zayah. That's called perspiration. That's called sweat. And that causes the fire. And the another explanation Yehuda brings down an explanation, interesting explanation. When people are making sins on this world, the Kisei HaKavod starts punishing the Hayot. And because he's punishing them, they have sweat. And when they sweat, comes out the fire. And when the fire comes out, we're going to see what happens with that fire. It burns the heads of the Risha'im in Gehinnom. Because they're the ones who are causing them to get hit in the first place. So it's like somewhat of a cycle over there. Anyway, and where is it empty? It is being empty on the Rosh of the Sha'im in Gehinnom. Shneemar hine sarat Hashem chema yitzaa v'sa'ar mitcholel. Behold, the storm of Hashem, a fury shall go forth, a tempest shall seek rest. Al Rosh Sha'im yahu, it'll rest upon the head of the wicked. Al asher kumetu. You know what it means? Is another explanation. And it means al asher kumutu, upon those who were supposed to be. Shneemar asher kumetu v'lo'it. Those who were supposed to be before their time, Nahar Yutzak Yisodam, whose foundation was swept away by the river. Who are we talking about? Very interesting here, I will tell you, is that there were supposed to be 974 generations of humanity between the creation, Pasha Bereshit, and Matan Torah. We only had 26. That's why we say Hodol Hashem Kito Ki Olam Hazdo. We say Hodol Shaman Ki Olam Hazdo. The Halal Gadol. The one we say every Shabbat morning before Baruch She'amar, we say 26 Kilo Olam Hazdo. Remember, Pesachim says why? Hashem kept the world alive without Torah for 26 generations. But the truth is, it's supposed to be for 1,000 generations. Davar Tziva le'elef dor. It's supposed to be for 1,000 generations. And Hashem saw that the 974 generations in between that are missing from our count, they would not be able, the world would not be able to exist if they would have been there. So therefore Hashem had to cut them short at 26. And the people who were supposed to be, instead, went to Gehinnom. And there they're getting the fire of the Hayot on them. And Tosha wants to know, what did they do? They were, why were they sent to Gehinnom? They weren't even created. So the Gemara explains, "Kodem shemah olam v'lo nivre'u." Before the world was created, they were destined to be, and then they weren't. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so what does Hashem do with them? Ushtalam b'chodo v'ador. Hashem puts them into every generation. Every generation, you find some people, v'hen azeh panim shebador. These are the brazen-faced people in every generation. They can say chutzpah to the rabbi. They can go against the Torah, against the parents, against everybody, against everything. And they have azeh panim. They're brazen-faced. They don't belong in this door. Not the people of the generation. Rather, they're from the generation of the 974. And for whatever reason, Hashem couldn't create them because the Torah needed to come already at 26, and otherwise the world would have been destroyed and go back to Tohu Vavohu. And therefore, these people were cut out, but they're still coming back in every generation. And those are the biggest troublemakers, turns out, are those from the 974 that were supposed to be and then never actually came out in those generations. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar, no, Asher Kumetu is actually a bracha. The bracha hu dichtiv. Those that get cut down is for a bracha. What does this mean? What does this mean? Elu tamidei chachamim shemekamitin atzman al divrei Torah b'olam hazeh. Why? Someone wants to become a tamid chacham. You know how they do it? They cut down on this world. What do they cut down on? Some explain they cut down on their sleep. They wake up early, they go to sleep later, they learn Torah in the extra time. And some say they cut down from physicality of this world, right? All physical, not just sleep, food, and everything else. And if they do that, Kadosh Baruch Hu megaleh lahem sod la'olam haba. Hashem will then reveal secrets to them in olam haba. Shneimar nahar yitzak yisodam. Secrets will be like a pouring river. So a person wants the secrets, people want sod, people want Kabbalah is sod, right? It only comes to somebody who cuts down his time for physicality. You see the guy, very physical, and he's very involved in Kashrut and all this, and then he tells you he's a Kabbalist. Do not believe it. Because in order to do that, you have to be cut down from this world. You have to cut down the sleep, cut down the food, cut down the trips, cut down the vacations, because otherwise, it's not. You're not going to be Megaleh Himsod. You're not going to get the secrets. Okay, let's do one more piece. Shmuel said to Chir Barav, Bar Uriah, son of Torah, son of a lion, son of a great man. Ta ema lach milta. Come, I'll tell you one thing. Nahani mili mal yutad hava amar avuch. That your father used to say. Call yomat yomat. Nivraim achi asharet min nahar dinur. Every day, angels are created from the stream of fire of the Nahar Dinur. And they pop out, they say Shira, and then they disappear, and they cease to exist. They are new every morning, great is your praise upon them. And the Farshim explain why does this happen immediately to get destroyed? Is because they are rushing to say Shira. You're not supposed to rush to sing to Hashem. You have to know who you're singing in front of. You have to know the Kivanot has to come out. And since these are new angels that just pop up, they just, singing Shira, and then they disappear. We say, like this, right? It's all a preparation. We take permission from each other. We prepare and everything. We have a certain mind frame. Then we say Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. And if not, if you just Yotzei B'Sharatim, they get up and they go pray, then they're going to be Shalom destroyed. Very big a lesson to us. You have to know how to go into tefillah. You're going into a very special place. You're talking to Hashem one-on-one. Just to say, we always said many times. We said in the past that tefillah is known as Avodah Belev. It's the work of the heart. Rabbi Shemir Weishlita would say you have to have a workout. Hashem, this past Moshmini, I said we were davening in a shul here in Birkat Eliyahu, our shul, and we had a Hazan from Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Ochana, and he prayed the Musaf of Shmini Atzeret, and it was a long Musaf. Not everyone appreciated it, but at the end of the Musaf, the man was literally sweating buckets. He was literally, he had the workout. He had the tefillah, Avodah Shebalev, he had a workout. And it takes time, and it takes kavanah and stuff like that. Therefore, we just pop in, pop out. It's not good. And ends off the Gemara for today. This argues with Rav Shmuel ben Nachmani, who says the angels are not created from the Nahar Dinur, but rather Rav Shmuel ben Nachmani, Amar Yonatan, Kol dibur v'dibur sheyotzei mipei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, nivra mimenu malach echad. Shneimar bedvar Hashem b'shamayim na'asu Uvruach piv kol tziva'am. By the word of Hashem, the heavens were made, and by the breath of his mouth, all their hosts. Rav and Rav Shmuel ben Nachmani dispute whether the angels are created from the stream of river, but they agree that new angels are created every day, and then they disappear. So they are, just for our final thought, there are angels that are permanent in Shemaim. Those are like Malach Gavriel, Malach Michal, Raphael, right? Those are permanent angels there. And then there are temporary or, new angels that come and go that exist as well. So there are many different types of angels. And of course, we really don't have any idea what we just spoke about, but HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give us the zechut of learning Torah, and hopefully we'll understand some more of the sod, of the secrets that we were there. Okay, with Hashem, we will continue next week.
Thank you.